yeah.
And everyone else.
On the Ash Wednesday service, the evening service, which is the only time we would use acolytes, is at 7 o'clock. It is a simple service, a penitential service, so we could only use the crucifer. If there were torchbearers available, that's fine, but not necessary, and there are no duties for Ash Wednesday that are different from any other service. On Palm Sunday, we begin with a Palm Sunday procession. Weather permitting, we meet over by the office building, distribute the palms, bless them, and then process in. So the procession itself moves in kind of a strange way because we're waiting on the whole congregation to get in. But once we get in the church, everything functions just like an ordinary Sunday service, except for the gospel, which because it's so long is done by readers up front, and we don't have a gospel procession. So there's nothing extra to learn how to do. Maundy Thursday is a lot like any other regular service with procession in and procession out, except that after the distribution of communion, we do a ceremony called the stripping of the altar. This is symbolic of the washing of the body of Christ and his burial. The altar guild will be here in force to take away the candlesticks, the altar hangings, any prayer books and hymnals that are around, all of the hangings on the altar and the lectern. And while that is going on, the responsibility of the acolyte is to take the crosses down into the acolyte room, so that by the time we're finished, the church is bare. And then we process it. The Stations of the Cross are an ancient Holy Week liturgy where symbolically we walk the streets of Jerusalem following Jesus on his way to the cross and then the grave, even though we're doing it here in the parish church. We begin standing in front of the altar for some devotions, and then we move, and at each station there's a reading and a prayer, and then we say, Holy God, holy and mighty, holy immortal one, have mercy on us. Now, the acolyte carrying the cross stands on the far side of the station, and during Holy God, holy and mighty, moves on to the next station. And we go to each station in turn, do the devotion at each one, and then wind up standing in front of the altar. Once that's done, we go out the side. And for the Good Friday service itself, which follows the stations, we don't need the services of an acolyte. Ready? Okay. The Easter Vigil, which is the first service of Easter, takes place here on the night before Easter, after sunset. We begin outside in the cemetery, lighting a new fire. Now, in the old days, every fire in the country would be out, and they would light the new fire, and it would sort of spread through wherever. We symbolize that by taking the light from the fire, lighting the paschal candle first, and then lighting everyone's little candles for them to process into the church. We process in from the cemetery with the deacon holding the paschal candle. There is no cross at this service. It is a processional candle, and stopping periodically to sing the Light of Christ, and everyone sings, Thanks be to God. We come into the church, everybody takes their seats, acolytes take their seats, clergy and choir. There is a long chant called the Exultet, which is a song in praise of the paschal candle. And once that's done, it becomes an ordinary Sunday service. The main difference for everyone is that the church is usually pretty full, and it's Easter, so it's an exciting and happy time. The season of Easter lasts 50 days, from Easter till the Feast of Pentecost. The The Paschal candle, which symbolizes the presence of the risen Christ with the church, is lit in the church, or lit for the first time on Easter Eve at the Easter Vigil, and then burns at every service through the day of Pentecost. Now, in theory, like the presence candle back at the Aumbrey, it's burning all the time, but we don't do that. So we light it before the service with the other candles, and then at the end of each service we leave it burning while the 2 candles on the altar are put out. And then, as I say, it burns through the Feast of Pentecost. It is also used at every baptism when it is backed by the font, which acolytes would need to know to watch for that and go back and light it before the baptismal service. And it is also used at every funeral service, put either at the end of the coffin or up by the urn, but we only rarely have acolytes for those. So it would largely be a matter probably at that point of reminding the acolyte to take care of that. Easter Day, as it's laid out, is just like an ordinary Sunday service. But it's an ordinary Sunday service with 350 people in a church that will seat about 175 comfortably. Because of that, because of all of the extra folding chairs, we don't do a procession from the rear of the church. We come in on the side, take a turn at the font, and come forward. And there needs, as we come in, to be a little sensitivity to people who might be leaning out in the aisle because they're in a 6-person pew with 8 of their closest friends. But it's usually a happy time, and it's kind of exciting to have that many people.